And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Amy.
Thank you so much, Reed. We're so happy to see everyone this morning. And as we start off, we'll have Jeremy start the slides. We have in Strategies for Children, since most people have seen us last, we have some new members of our team who you'll hear about for the summer. And as we get started, so Jeremy, can you put this first slide up? We'll have everybody change in your name the way that we worked through the agenda with adding whether you're a 1, you're a 2, or you're a 3. So if everybody could change their name now, remember 1s are people who work with young children and families every day. 2s sometimes work with children and families, and 3s don't typically work in your day-to-day with children and families, but have a vested interest. So if everybody could just go and rename yourselves and add your numbers. I just put I was a 1, I'm a 3. Thanks, Marissa. Good morning. Jeremy, can we have the slides, Jeremy?
Is that better?
I don't see them.
Sorry, all right, 1 second.
I think it helps sometimes to turn them off and then turn them back on.
Yeah.
Great.
That might be the easiest. You're good.
There we go.
Better now? All right. Thanks.
Perfect. There we are, 1, 2s, and 3s. And as we see, this intention of using this technique is not to prioritize one voice over another person's, but rather ensure that we're creating a space for those with lived experience and include different perspectives. So thanks, Jeremy. We can go to the next slide. So as you joined, we have some summer music playing. So our get to know you question today is, what song reminds you of summer? And if you could add to the chat, we will soon see a chat full of summer songs for you to create your summer playlist. Summer Breeze, oh, that's a good one. Sweet Caroline, great. Brown Eyed Girl, Summertime DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Excellent. Mungo Jerry. Cool Summer Karate Kid. We could probably also do a bit of a which generation are we? Great. Keep these summer songs going, and we will have a playlist getting ready to start. And so first we wanted to just introduce you and reintroduce you to members of our team at Strategies for Children. So most of you know me, and then I'll have everybody come off mute and just say hello. So we have Titus, and maybe,
Great.
and then,
oh, yes, we should go in the order of the slide. Good idea,
yes,
Amy.
Titus.
Hello, I'm Titus Ostromedius, Deputy Director at Strategies for Children. Welcome, everyone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marissa Fear. I'm the Director of Policy at Strategies for Children.
Hi, good morning. My name is Diagneris Garcia, Neri for short. I'm the Director of Communications. Bienvenidos.
And Marge Mahoney is on vacation this week, so we will say hello to Marge.
I'm Jeremy Rosen. I am one of the project managers for the Early Childhood Agenda this summer, and very excited to be here.
And Jeremy, well, Jeremy, just say a little bit where you're from. Sorry, I'm surprising you.
Sure. I'm from Massachusetts, and I'm a student at Brandeis University, getting an MPP in Child, Youth, and Family Policy. So in the middle of my program.
Go ahead, Amanda.
All right, I'm Amanda Stalin. I'm the other project manager for the summer, so happy to be here with you all.
And Dana?
Hi, I'm Dana Schmack. I'm from the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, and I'm interning this summer.
Hi, everyone. I'm Riley, and I'm also an intern this summer.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Estrelina Elihulu, and I'm a new summer intern at Strategy for Children. Thank you.
Right. Last but not least, hi everyone. My name is Jack Borsline. I am one of the summer interns here at SFC. I'm currently a Bunker Hill and Northeastern dual enrollment student finishing my bachelor's in journalism. I'm originally from Richmond, Virginia, but I have been an adopted son of Massachusetts for about 3 years now, and love it up here.
Thanks so much, Jack. We're so happy to have our team almost doubled for the summer. And we know that Amanda and Jeremy
Let me ask you why my headphones don't work.
Are working on the agenda exclusively. So here's our agenda for today. We're gonna go over the house rules and introductions. We have a group map activity. We have some exciting announcements about the work groups, and we'll get more into that on that part of the agenda. We have updates from the coalitions that are part of the agenda. We have some new news. Our website is right now having some finishing touches put on, and we're working with technology, but we will show you the homepage that we've been working on so folks can see a sneak peek, and then we'll talk about next steps. So here we have, I'm gonna turn things over to Marissa Fear, who has been leading the work for the early childhood agenda. So Marissa?
Thanks, Amy. So the first thing we wanted to do today before we completely sort of unload a bunch of the exciting updates and work that we've been doing for the past few months on all of you was to have a little bit more of an interactive activity where we can hear about how you've been using the early childhood agenda since January. So whether it's sharing it with a coworker, reading through it yourself and sort of trying to decide where you see yourself reflected in the agenda and how you want to be involved moving forward, or any of the other sort of various engagement options that you might have encountered. So how have you been using the agenda? And then what questions do you still have about the agenda? Just to I think that'll help us as we continue planning for the future. And then also just to be able to make sure that we address these questions during the meeting today. And before I get started, I'm just going to do one quick announcement. Can everyone just double check that they have muted themselves? So if you look in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a microphone. Go ahead and click on that and make sure that there's a red dot or a red line going through it. So everyone just take a quick second to double check that. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the group map activity link into the chat. So this is a tool that we used throughout the fall, and we're going to keep using it as the agenda goes forward. It's a way for everyone to provide feedback on questions, on draft language, to generate ideas and brainstorm, to vote and sort of upvote various language or things that you think are interesting or important that we want to elevate. And we're going to use it today just to gather some of the questions and ways that you all have used the agenda. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Jeremy, you're good to cut out the slides. And we'll go ahead and get started. So you should be able to see, once you click on that link, you should be able to see two separate questions. All right. Can everyone see my screen? Oh, great. I see we have about 29 people in already. So keep on joining up with the group map here. There should be two different questions. So how have you used the early childhood agenda since January is on the left-hand side, and what lingering questions do you have about the early childhood agenda is on the right-hand side in purple. So how have you used it in green? What questions do you have in purple? And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to focus on how have you used the agenda first in green. So I'm going to spotlight that for everyone. And we should be able to see it. All right, so I'm seeing some answers populate here. We see to keep up to date with legislative action taken by the state. We've been thinking about how best we can help move the agenda forward in our intersecting sectors, discussing with the team of teachers to raise awareness about advocacy opportunities, promoting the importance of developmental monitoring and screening, stay updated on how Massachusetts is addressing the early childhood crisis, sharing it with colleagues, shared it with our local child-focused coalition. Have the agenda overview up in my office and have used it when having conversations with colleagues. Shared with our board, our teachers, and parent community to show the incredible opportunities to advocate. Pushing policy and advocacy, highlighting it in local, state, and national meetings. These are really great. I love to see all of this engagement. A lot of what we're going to share today is how we can sort of keep moving this forward and what the next steps are. So I'm glad that that's sort of on everyone's mind and that you all have been thinking that same way too. Meeting with partners and making plans. Haven't used it yet, but have told people about it. That is so fair too. That's, again, a lot of what we're going to talk today about is how you all can be involved moving forward. All right, I'm going to go ahead to our next question, which is, what lingering questions do you have about the early childhood agenda? And this one I'm especially interested in. Okay, how to engage. It is overwhelming. I've used it with senior management and the board. What will the measure of success be? Still wondering how to best engage myself. How can home visiting and other early education and childhood programs fit into some of the priorities and objectives? That's a great question. So thinking about that sort of intersection between various different issue areas and program services, topics within early childhood, how does it all fit together? How to stay connected on pieces that aren't with coalitions. That is a great question. That is exactly what we're going to talk about today. How to engage with coalitions and educate them on the agenda. Where are we having groups leading certain agenda points? How can partner organizations support the agenda? What do we need to do to move the needle on priorities and action items? What are the concrete next steps? How to make moderate gains while keeping an eye on the highest quality and best for all children. How does the info from the agenda get addressed with legislature and voices from the agenda to influence funding decisions? How can we better engage others in ongoing campaigns? So a lot about engagement here. That's super helpful. That's exactly what we are focusing on today. All right, so this stays open. Feel free to add some more comments or questions into the activity. We will make sure to go in and we always look at these afterwards and kind of use them to plan our next steps. So Jeremy, feel free to pull back up the slides whenever you're set. And then, and for everyone who's participating today, feel free to go back into the group map activity. And if something strikes you later on and you want to make sure to add it, that would be great. That's super helpful for us as we continue planning the agenda moving forward. So Amy shared a little bit about our agenda today. We just finished the group map activity there, and we're going to share a little bit of sort of just level setting around the agenda. We know that many of you have been involved since the beginning, whether it was planning conversations in 2021 or helping us to develop the 10 priorities of the agenda throughout the fall. But we also know that many people may be brand new to this and have just joined us. So we want to make sure that we all understand what the agenda is.
And Marissa, I was so excited about the song that I forgot to do the house rules. So Jeremy, can I just have you go back to the slide? I think it's the first or second slide. There we go. Maybe one more back. Keep going. Well, there we are. So one more back, Jeremy. The who's in the room. So we, sorry, go back to number 2, I think it is. There we are. Who is in the room? So if we already changed our name, if you want to add pronouns and your organization affiliation. We are encouraging folks to be on camera, but it's not required. We are spotlighting the speakers so that folks can kind of track who's talking. Please mute your mic when you're not speaking, and please use the chat. We will save the chat. We're meeting today at 10 o'clock. We are also meeting tonight at 6 p.m. We will also put that link in the Zoom. So if folks want to join at 6 or you want to share the word, that would be great. And we are also recording it. And we will post both videos on our YouTube channel, and we will certainly include a follow-up email with all the materials. Thanks so much, Jeremy. And Marissa, I'll turn things back to you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Amy. So right now what we're going to do is just talk a little bit about the early childhood agenda and give everyone some context for what it has been, what it is now, and what we hope it will become in the future. So right here on the slide, we have a bit of a timeline that talks about how the early childhood agenda was developed. So for us at Strategies, this really began in 2021. It was part of some strategic planning conversations that we had, many meetings with partners. For those of you who are part of the 9:30 call, I think the early childhood agenda really stemmed from that 9:30 call and the need that we heard for organizations and individuals, for different sectors, for different issue areas who all work within early childhood to have a space to come together, to be connected, to work together, to push agenda items and priorities forward. So for us, that conversation really began in 2021. And then in October of 2022, we were able to launch the early childhood agenda publicly. And so with that, throughout the fall, we focused on 5 different areas. So we thought about healthy families. What does it mean to have a healthy family in Massachusetts? A thriving early childhood workforce, robust system infrastructure and local partnerships, high quality experiences, and financially secure families. So within that frame of 5 different areas, we asked all of the early childhood agenda partners to brainstorm and elevate key challenges, and then to brainstorm and elevate solutions and how we want to address those challenges that are facing children and families every day. We were able to launch a survey that went out in 7 different languages, and over 1,000 people participated in that survey to give us some broader feedback on the agenda's priorities, and ultimately ended up with the 10 items that you'll see on the early childhood agenda today, which I can share in a minute. Fast forward to today, where we are really entering this implementation phase, which you can see highlighted in green here. So from January of 2023 through January of 2025, our priority is going to be how do we advance these different agenda priorities? And that'll mean different things for each priority. For some, there's an active coalition, and there may be a bill that is in the legislature, or there may be a budget ask for the state budget in Massachusetts. And so advancing the priorities may mean, advocacy for those 2 things. For other agenda priorities, they may be a little bit less developed. There might not be sort of a group or a coalition of organizations and individuals who are working on that issue area. We may not even know sort of what exactly we want to be the solution, how we're going to make progress on this. And so what we're going to be doing today is talking about how we wanted to organize the structure of the early childhood agenda group and engagement opportunities so that we can focus our efforts on each of those priorities and continue to make progress. And then beyond 2025 is sort of the future, and we don't really know what this will look like in the future yet, but we're hopeful that giving it the shot the first 2 years and seeing how this goes will inform any of those future designs, and we can use this to sort of build the foundation for an early childhood system that we all want moving forward. All right, next slide. So this is the early childhood agenda. There are, right now it sort of exists in the form of a 2-page document. On the second page, you'll see 10 different priorities listed there. What we've done here is, this was the version from our January sort of celebration and launch. So there will be an updated version that has some new information that we'll be sharing today. But you'll be able to see that for each of the agenda priorities, there is either a lead advocate that's been identified, or we wrote the opportunity to lead. So what we've done is we are sort of elevating those opportunity to leads, and we're going to be forming work groups. We've partnered with various organizations to lead those efforts, and we'll be announcing that today. And then at the same time, for the coalitions that are in existence already, that are established, what we want to do is sort of act as an intermediary and connect our various early childhood agenda partners to those coalitions to help them advance their advocacy agendas and to make progress on those agenda items. You can also see the 5 different icons. They're next to each of the agenda items, and there's a key in the bottom right-hand corner. So those are to indicate sort of from which action area the agenda item stemmed from. So for number 1, as an example, thinking about comprehensive early education and care, system improvements, so workforce compensation improvements, increasing affordability for families were two main topics that really came up in the Thriving Early Childhood Workforce group and in the Financially Secure Families group. So you can see those two icons listed there. All right, next slide. And this is a graphic to explain how we envision this moving forward. I hope this graphic is helpful. We know that it's going to be a lot of information and there's a lot of different moving pieces. So please put your questions in chat and I'll do my best to answer them as we continue on here. So as I explained, those 5 different action areas, you can see the 5 icons there. Those were how we developed the agenda in the fall and came up with those 10 different priorities. Underneath the action areas, you can see the agenda document itself, and that's where those 10 priorities are highlighted. We have 10 items that we want to make progress on for the next 2 years. We're going to do that in 2 different ways. So in green on the left-hand side, you'll be able to see coalitions. And then in blue on the right-hand side, you'll be able to see work groups. The difference here is that for some of the agenda priorities, there was already an existing coalition, established coalition in place working on that priority area. And rather than being duplicative, what we would prefer to do is connect you all to those efforts. So if you're interested in raising cash assistance grants, or if you're interested in tax credits for families, in the Universal School Meals campaign to provide free school meals for all children in Massachusetts, or interested in early education and child care system improvements. What we would like to do is connect you all to these coalitions and to make sure that you are up to date on their most current actions, that you know sort of what's happening, and that you are aware of any advocacy opportunities that might come up. So we'll continue to promote those through our channels, but then also encourage you just to join those meetings, to join the meetings, to join their advocacy efforts, to sign up for their mailing list so that you're as up to date as possible on what's happening there. And
So
next,
Marissa, we have a question in chat that I think you can clarify. So
yeah.
can you just talk about the A's and the B's?
Yes, definitely. So in the agenda, I think there's 3 different priorities, priority number 3, priority number 7, and priority number 10, where there are really 2 very separate things that it was our way of, getting as much as we could onto a list of 10 items. So there's 2 very separate items there, but they are within sort of a bigger bucket. So what we thought about for 3A and 3B is how are we providing sort of a guaranteed minimum income? We're providing some support for families in their finances. And that breaks down into 3A and 3B. So 3A focuses on the Healthy Families Tax Credit, and 3B focuses on the Lift Our Kids Coalition and cash assistance grants. Same thing for 7A and 7B. So that was really more about state governance. We saw a lot of agenda solutions that came up around a common application for public benefits. And then we also saw a lot of agenda solutions that were sort of elevated around state governance and establishing a children's cabinet within state governance so that all of the different programs and services and departments that work with early childhood have some continuity. And then finally for 10A and 10B, the reason why we split that one into 2 is because while the Universal School Meals campaign is excellent and we're really excited to see that move forward, that really only addresses hunger within the public school population and sort of our K-12, PK-12 world, and doesn't really focus on hunger in the early years. And because this organization, the Early Childhood Agenda, or this Convening the Early Childhood Agenda, is really focusing on early childhood, we wanted to break that off slightly and have a new work group that's going to be focusing specifically on hunger in the early years. And so working in partnership with various organizations who are interested in that. That's
Thanks,
a great
Marissa,
question.
and thanks, Alicia, for the question.
Yeah, great question. Keep them coming. Sorry, go back 1 second to the last slide, Jeremy. So then on the right-hand side is where we have the work groups in blue. So you'll see all the different priorities listed there. Those are going to be the work groups that we will be launching, hopefully today. And you all will be able to sign up for, to get involved, to join, to help us move the agenda items forward. All right, next slide. So the different work groups, number 2, which is going to be focusing on workforce compensation, which really breaks down to salary and benefits for the early childhood professionals. That work group is going to be, I think conducting a landscape analysis, thinking through how do we define early childhood professionals in Massachusetts? Who is the specific workforce that we are talking about? What is an equitable compensation? What is a family sustaining compensation? What are we shooting for? What's the goal there in terms of compensation for that workforce? And then what's sort of the current state of play in Massachusetts? How does compensation reflect across different professionals? So whether you're an early educator or you're a home visitor, how does compensation sort of look right now? And then what are the different policy levers that we have to work with in Massachusetts? So what does it look like if we were to make certain changes, and getting a better understanding of that are some of the things that we've been thinking about for that work group. For number 4, that work group is going to be focusing on developmental monitoring, screening, evaluation, referrals, and services. So really that pathway for children to access services in Massachusetts. And then 5 is going to be focusing on quality improvement infrastructure. So really thinking through how are we supporting as a state quality in all early childhood programs and services, and what does that look like? So what are the infrastructure pieces that we can stand up or sort of further invest in and grow that support quality in programs? Number 6, we'll be focusing on local infrastructure and partnerships. So really hyper-focused on that local level. What does this look like? What do we need in Massachusetts to be successful? Number 8, really elevated the need for a public education campaign in Massachusetts to talk about the importance of the early years and all that we know about child development and brain science, to talk about the workforce that is doing such incredible work in this area and elevating them as professionals, and just sort of the various public education needs that we really seem to have around early childhood and the broader audience, making sure that everyone in Massachusetts understands why this is so important. Number 9 is all about linking health and those early childhood systems. So how do we ensure that there's a strong connection between both of those worlds? And then finally, number 10B is really focusing on that early childhood hunger space. So how do we develop some comprehensive solutions to end early childhood hunger in Massachusetts?
Can I make a quick comment, Marissa?
Yeah, go ahead, Titus.
So we're using the numbers, as you said, to refer back to the early childhood agenda 10 priorities. I have a hard copy here. I'm gonna be able to see it because my background is blurry, but there were 10 big priorities we all pushed forward when we published this early childhood agenda in January. So we want to show how, the work groups we're launching connect back with those 10. That's why we have numbers here. And hopefully that is clear. And if you have any questions, let us know.
And to Titus's point, I think it's also important to point out that we had, 7 different work groups here, and I think there's 6 coalitions on the other side. So it's more than 10, obviously, when you add those 2 up, but that really accounts for the A and B structure for a few of those different agenda items. Thanks, Titus. All right, so now how to get involved. So what we've done here is we've color coded again. So green for the coalitions and blue for the work groups. So the first option is just join an established coalition. If you are interested in agenda priority number 1, number 3A, 3B, 7A, 7B, or 10B, join those coalitions, get involved in some of the work, help raise awareness for the issue, make connections in the early childhood space. So your perspective may be something new that is not part of those conversations right now. So join and share your perspectives. You may be sort of a person who's bringing an early childhood specific perspective to those meetings. And then advocate for the priorities. So as advocacy opportunities come up, join on to those and to help make sure that we're making progress over the next 2 years. And then, if we're lucky and these things pass and we see progress, then it helped to inform the implementation process as well, because we know that that's extremely important and another piece of this puzzle, that even if we pass a bill, even if we get investment through the state budget, that the implementation of those things is often a key part to success. So that's option 1. Option 2, 3, and 4 really talk about the work groups. So Option 2, join an emerging work group. So anyone, if you are an individual, if you're here representing your organization or business, if you work in health, in transportation, if you work in early childhood education and care, whatever sort of your issue area expertise is. If you're interested in that topic, then please join the work groups. You can join one, you can join many. They're going to be meeting at various different times. And what we'll be doing is making sure that the resources that we share online are sort of available, publicly available for all. So even if you can't attend a meeting, you can still join that work group, sign up, stay involved, stay engaged, and provide feedback, sort of follow along with meeting agendas, meeting notes, meeting recordings on Basecamp, which we'll share a little bit more about later. But again, so help raise awareness, add your perspective to those meetings, inform the development of recommendations and of advocacy next steps. Option 3 actually comes from you all. So during our last meeting, we heard a lot about the need to elevate those with lived experience within the structure of the work groups. So what we did is we went ahead and established lived experience leaders. So each work group will have a lead facilitator, and they'll also have lived experience leaders who are those who identify as ones or twos. We're going to ask for at least 2 individuals to serve as lived experience leaders on each of the working groups. There will be a financial stipend for sort of providing your perspective as a lived experience leader. And we also wanted to provide an opportunity to see some of like the back end parts of running meetings. So the planning process, the facilitation process, and to help build those skill sets in those within early childhood, because we know those opportunities don't always come up. So we're going to provide some sort of training on the back end and some support so that everyone who is stepping up as a lived experience leader feels empowered and ready to sort of step into the leadership role there. But our primary purpose is to really make sure that those who are closest to the policy changes that we're trying to pursue have an opportunity to provide their feedback and are sort of centered and elevated at these meetings. And then finally, number 4 is facilitate a work group. So we have a number of facilitators who have already signed on, who are ready to go. We're going to share that in a few moments. And then we also are going to be looking for organizations to serve as facilitators for 3 more work groups. So priority number 5, number 8, and number 10B. And we've had a few organizations step up as leaders, and we're still planning on reaching out to them, but just wanted to elevate that in case there were any others who were interested in those 3 different priorities. All right, next slide. And then a little preview of how we see this unfolding over the next few months and some of the checkpoints that we hope the work groups will meet. So these checkpoints are meant to be flexible. They're meant to be a template so that the work group has some sort of structure to it, and that that you sort of can envision what we are looking for moving forward. But these are flexible, these are interchangeable. The work group itself will really govern itself and sort of make the decisions on how you want to move these around, or if you think, you know, number 3 actually makes more sense first, so let's do that first rather than number 1. So those are the different checkpoints we're looking at. The first one is launching the work groups, which we are planning to do today, and we'll continue to do the other 3 throughout the summer here to begin recruitment and establishing new partnerships. So the first sort of action of all these work groups is to make sure that we have the right people in this room, that we're really broadening our outreach and making sure that we have a number of early childhood professionals and those with lived experience and content expertise in various different issue areas involved in early childhood, because we really want to think about this broadly and holistically. To brainstorm 3 to 5 deliverables. We've asked each work group to make progress on 3 to 5 deliverables throughout the next 2 years. So to come up with what those are going to be and to start to work on those projects. To plan outreach and community engagement, and then to review that community input. So we see that playing into the work group checkpoints at some point. And then finally to develop work plans and project budgets as well. So fitting those sort of 6 checkpoints throughout the next few months here, and understanding that they are flexible and they're able to move as well. And then the next quarterly meeting of the early childhood agenda would be in September of 2023. So we're really thinking about that as the next meeting where we all come together, we share updates on the various different work groups and the various different coalitions. All right, and with that, I am so thrilled to be able to share that we have 4 of the work groups ready to go, and we've partnered with incredible organizations who are really willing to step into this leadership role and help us make some progress on these different agenda items. So you can go to the next slide, and then I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to some of our partners to share a little bit about themselves and a little bit about the work that they're doing. So the first one is agenda priority number 2. And so Amy, I'm actually going to turn it over to you for this one. Do you want to share a quick bit about just strategies for children and our role and how we envision helping to facilitate this work group moving forward, and then this exciting news and the potential partnership that we might have with the Center for the Study of Childcare Employment moving forward?
Sure. Thanks so much, Marissa. As anyone who participated in the agenda, our workforce warriors, and let's see if people want to just raise their hand if they participated in that work group. We had amazing participation from folks, especially ones who helped inform that. And as Marissa said, if anyone kind of who cares about early childhood knows about differentiated instruction. And so all of these work groups are really kind of based in that differentiated model. So as we think about the work going forward, we are really thinking about what opportunities exist, who can help us with content expertise, and then what does it look like, as you saw, as we want to measure that one question that came up on the group maps, like how will you measure success? It will look different. So if you're engaged in a coalition, there might be a bill, or as you saw, Naomi Meyer, a budget ask that we are also have, advocacy opportunities. For the workforce one, we know that this is a huge bucket of work. We also know that there are existing efforts that are already happening in Massachusetts, right? We have apprenticeships that are happening in Massachusetts. We also know that we have a national expert in the Center for the Child Care Employment at University of California, Berkeley. And we have partnered with the folks at the center. And as we were kind of thinking about what this all might look like, we thought that wouldn't it be great to have an organization like that that has access to data that has a national perspective as well, because we know that other states have made progress on different parts of all the things that we care about. And so where we are right now is we also know the center has limited capacity and they have their own agenda of work. But in talking with them, we are so excited to announce today that we will be working with them as they will be the content expert. I'm going to help facilitate that group, and you'll see that the facilitation content expertise looks a little bit different for all the work groups. But this one will be in the fall. We are really going to focus on getting the Massachusetts picture and the landscape, and then that will be the summer. And then as we think about the fall, bringing in the folks from the center to help us as we review what are possible options that we should think about, what are best practices from other states, where have states figured out some of these questions that continually come up for us, where do we have expertise, and what does that all look like in recommendations? So we're so excited to think about this potential opportunity, and we are still kind of working out what this looks like, but we are really excited that they are in it with us to try to figure out what this looks like in practice as we think about the number 2 agenda around supporting the workforce around compensation and benefits.
Thanks, Amy. All right, so now I'm going to turn it over to agenda priority number 4, where we have the United Way of Massachusetts Bay and Merrimack Valley and Massachusetts Act Early teaming up to facilitate that work group. So Carla, I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome, thank you. So this priority is really focused on making sure that we have universal access to screening, to developmental screening and monitoring for all children, recognizing that earlier identification of concerns for kids and connections to services, and also opportunities to engage parents and caregivers early on about their child's development and really uplift them as their child's sort of educational advocate starting in these early years, or something we want to make sure that everyone across the state has access to. And so Kate and I don't see Kate spotlighted, but I know she's here. Kate and I will be co-facilitating this group and really kind of looking at, thanks, and really kind of looking at all of the pieces of this. So looking for increasing access to developmental screening and monitoring, and then also supporting, making sure that the systems are working for kids to get screened, identified, and then get the services that they need to be able to enter school ready to succeed and learn and thrive. And so we have started to think about some ways we may focus this, thinking about the developmental screening and monitoring week we did last year, and trying to really do that again this year with sort of some bolstered energy and support across the state. And then we'll also be looking at some policy and advocacy goals, and then also probably some goals in the data space, as we know that data is really significant in this this priority to know kind of where the gaps are, know what we know, and then figure out what it is that we need to still be figuring out.
Carla, thank you so much. I just want to make sure that and remind everybody, and this is for me as well, we are having a live interpretation. So folks and speakers could just slow down. Lots of exciting information. Nope. And just remember that we are live interpreting. So thanks.
Sorry about that.
Thanks so much, Carla. And Kate, do you want to jump in and say anything else, or are we good there? Let's move on to the next
We're
one.
good, but thank you. Carla and I are really excited to lead this team. So I hope a lot of you will join the workforce group.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So now I'm going to turn it over to agenda priority number 6. So we have Edward Street. So Eve Gilmore and Kim Davenport are going to be facilitating this group. So Eve, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Marissa. I'm Eve Gilmore. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Edward Street here in Worcester, Massachusetts. We are a small but mighty early childhood, early education and care advocate and resource development organization. We are excited about priority number 6, as we have been participating in our own local coalitions that have been supporting both early education and care targetedly for high quality access and affordability, but also looking at the early childhood arena and agenda locally and on a more specific level of collaboration and investment, particularly getting our local government and regional legislative support to advocate for greater monetary and resource investment in early childhood and early education and care. At Edward Street, we function at the local, regional, and at the state level. So we're very excited to be considered as a facilitator for priority number 6, which is focusing on a combination of very creative and innovative partnerships and collaborations that are happening already across the state. Some at a very fundamental grassroots level in terms of family councils, small partnerships of targeted culture broker organizations that are looking to be able to get their voices heard as part of the advocacy on behalf of early childhood. Others are more sophisticated, more well-endowed, if you will, coalitions and organizations across the state that have been able to elevate their agendas at varying stages of success. Boston is certainly a shining example of what has happened just in a very short period of time in terms of being able to find community leaders at the mayoral level and significant investment to start to create what we all are looking for across the state in the establishment of an innovative and accessible early childhood system for families. And our priority is looking at doing a landscape analysis of what is already underway across the state with consideration of best practices. We are hoping to be able to invite you and people who have been participating in this particular agenda number 6 to inform some of the more creative ways that we can get action-oriented steps in play and bring our coalitions together under a comprehensive umbrella that will increase the power, the influence, and the impact of what we're striving for. So we're very excited about that. Unfortunately, Kim is on vacation today. Otherwise, I'd certainly have her put her 2 cents worth in, but she will probably be the primary facilitator on this project. And we're very much looking forward to working with all of you who have helped to contribute to this in a significant way. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Eve. All right, and then finally we have agenda priority number 9, where we are going to have partner facilitators reach out and read and the Child Health Equity Center at UMass. So I will turn it over to, let's go with Allison first and then Alex next. Or Janet's also here. Okay, hi. The spotlight phase 3. Go ahead, Allison.
Thank you so much, Marissa. I'm Allison LeBlanc. I'm the Executive Director of the Child Health Equity Center at UMass Memorial and UMass Chan Medical School. We are close friends of Eve and the Edward Street crew, so happy to be going after them. We're really excited to be partnering with Reach Out and Read to address this agenda priority 9. And for those of you who were a part of the agenda setting, you'll remember that this is to strengthen the links between health and early childhood. So we have a unique position in that we sit in a healthcare facility in UMass Memorial Health. And so really feel like we have a strong connection to the health system, but also have a lot of community engagement arms in our organization that allow us to connect with early childhood organizations, individuals with lived expertise, and others in the early childhood space. So we're really excited to kind of engage with folks in this space. I hear a lot of excitement in the Worcester area and beyond about this. I think there's an urgent need to strengthen the link between health and early childhood. So I'm really excited to be working with colleagues that Reach Out and Read on pursuing this agenda item.
All right, Janet, over to you. Thanks, Allison.
Hi, I'm Janet Boswell. I'm the Director of Special Projects with Reach Out and Read in the Northeast region. And my colleague Alex Chu and I are going to be heading up this effort together, but he's under the weather today. But Reach Out and Read is a national organization that embeds early relational health and literacy into pediatric primary care. So this particular agenda priority is really speaks to the whole model of what we're doing. And we're just so excited to have this opportunity to be part of this whole process.
Thanks so much. All right, so with that, we've heard from 4 of the different work groups. Those are the 4 that we have ready to go and have sort of established our partnerships with. And then we have these 3 more coming soon. So as I mentioned, agenda priority number 5, number 8, and number 10B that we're gonna be reaching out to our partners who have expressed interest in facilitating those groups. And then if there are any others that are interested in being involved in a more leadership role for those topics as well, please reach out. That we're still looking for partners. So next slide. All right, so now we're going to do some quick coalition updates, and I will go ahead and share through these various updates that we've been tracking from our coalition partners. So the first one is the Common Start Coalition. Common Start is going to be hosting a family-friendly rally at the State House on July 13th at 11 a.m. So this is really meant to sort of just keep the momentum, keep the focus on early education and childcare as we head into the summer months, expecting that there might be some action in the fall related to this. So the event will be Thursday, July 13th at 11 a.m. on the Grand Staircase at the Massachusetts State House. The Common Start Coalition is organizing travel, which is incredible. So please take a look at the RSVP there. We'll put those links in the follow-up as well so that you can sort of directly click on them. There's also a small QR code there if you want to just take a picture of that now. I'll leave it on for another second or two. And there will also be Spanish interpretation for the event. So that is the big update from Common Start. All right, the next is Lift Our Kids. And I saw Naomi, you're on the call too. So if you want to jump in, I know you were adding a lot of this information to the chat, but feel free to add some more context. The Lift Our Kids Coalition is asking the legislature to include a 10% cash assistance grant increase effective July of 2023. And I believe the date is really the key piece there, correct, Naomi? That the date of July of 2023 is really what you're seeking from the legislature?
Right, well, both. I mean, the increase, the 10% increase is included in the Senate budget, but not the House budget. So that's something being worked out in conference committee, and we are urging them to make sure it is included in the final budget. But as you said, also seeking to move up the effective date, which in the Senate budget wouldn't happen until April of 2024. And we really feel that kids can't wait that long to have their basic needs met. And, you know, a 10% increase won't answer poverty and make sure everybody's needs are met, but it is an incredibly important step forward in that direction, you know, to making sure that we have a safety net that catches our kids and our lowest income families. So yeah, so that's what we're asking for. And I would love to have as many folks engaged. I know, you know, we're, as you put here, we're having our little mini lobby day this afternoon. I don't really expect anybody who's just hearing about it now is going to be able to make that, but there are absolutely other ways that you're welcome if you can, but there are absolutely other ways to get involved now and going forward as we continue. Even if we succeed this year, we're not done, right? We're going to be continuing. This would be, if we're fingers crossed, if we get this increase this year, this will be the 4th increase in a row that we have gotten. And we will keep pushing until grants get up ultimately to our very, very modest goal of half the federal poverty level with a built-in adjustment for inflation going forward.
Thanks, Naomi. And that's very important to mention too, that this is sort of part of the larger strategy and the bill that you have in the legislature as well. So thanks for that. And we'll make sure to include these links in the follow-up as well. So as you can see there, there's a hyperlink to ask your own representative and senator to reach out to the conference committee about this advocacy ask. All right, next. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy, who is serving as both a project manager for Strategies for Children and the Early Childhood Agenda, and also is working on the Healthy Families Tax Credit Coalition this summer. So he's going to share a little bit about the coalition and their advocacy update.
Great, thank you. So yeah, a quick update on the Healthy Families Tax Credit Coalition. So as many of you probably know, as of a few weeks ago, both the House and Senate have released their tax relief packages, and we're excited about a few of the provisions in there. So both chambers proposed an increase in the earned income tax credit match rate from 30 to 40% of the federal credit. And both chambers also included a streamlined version of the child and family tax credit. And those bills are now in conference committee for negotiation. You can see the House reps and senators listed there. So take note of those, and maybe some of them are your representatives or senators. The main difference that we're concerned with is in the child and family tax credit benefit level. So we are going to continue to advocate for the House version, which is a benefit level of $600 per dependent phased in over 3 years, which is much more generous than the Senate version, which is $310 per dependent. So we're going to really focus our advocacy towards advocating for the House version of that tax credit. And there's a lot of opportunities for advocacy. So please reach out to your representatives in the legislature, especially if they're part of the conference committees, and urge them to include the House version of the child and family tax credit. You can also visit taxcreditfairnessma.org/take action, and we can include that link in a follow-up. And you can send a pre-drafted letter to your legislator. So a really quick, easy way to advocate. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to Charlotte Bruce, who is the Senior Research and Policy Analyst at Children's Health Watch. And again, we can include Charlotte's contact info in that follow-up.
Thanks, Jeremy. All right, and then the final coalition we have here is the Feed Kids Now Coalition, which is focusing on universal school meals. So again, it's a budget related conference committee ask to include the School Meals for All campaign ask within the conference committee's sort of final state budget. So we will include this action alert and get these all out to you all so that you can take action on the coalition related agenda priorities. And we really look forward to all of this work group action moving forward. The follow-up email that we hope to send out on Friday, tomorrow or Friday, is going to be jam-packed. It's going to have hopefully our website listed in there so that you can go through and take a look at the website yourself. It's going to have information for signing up for the work groups, and then it'll also have these action items. So keep a lookout for that in the next 2 days. All right, so as I mentioned, we have a new website. Many of you may be familiar with the Early Childhood Agenda website that we used throughout the fall. Really served our purposes then, but we knew that there was going to be a lot more engagement moving forward, and we wanted it to be clear and accessible for our Early Childhood Agenda partners. So while the URL stays the same, the site is going to be very different. But as Amy mentioned, we're having some last minute technical difficulties. So it is not live right now, but it is coming very, very soon, and we will be including that in the follow-up email. On the plus side, as I shared with our strategies team before the call, my habit of keeping too many browsers open has lended us well, because I have a couple browsers from the site before the technical difficulties really kicked in. So we're going to take a look at the site as it looked like before this morning and give you all just sort of a sense of what it looks like. And we'll see a few pages that I had queued up already, and then we'll share more in the follow-up.
And as Marissa's pulling it up, I just have to thank Neri Garcia, our Director of Communications, and Tanya Lazar, our graphic designer, and Larissa Fear. I cannot tell you how many hours they have put toward, if you've ever redesigned a website, especially one like this that's going to be interactive, it's covering so much material. It has just been a wonder to watch them. We're also practicing our negotiation skills with all of the folks on the technical side, but we are really excited about this and really want to make it user friendly, which means that some of the design was just really, it was so thoughtful about how to make sure we can collect updates, we can kind of have it organized in a way that's really user friendly. So we are glad Marissa keeps all of her browsers open and excited to be able to launch it later this week.
Thanks, Amy. Yeah, I think that's the first time that this has lended me well and not caused my computer to crash unexpectedly. All right, so the first thing I'm going to point out on the website is that there is a sort of a toggle of menu options on the top there. So you'll be able to see, right now it's listed as homepage because this was sort of the back end version, but there'll be just a homepage. There's an About Us section, which I'm on right now. That's what we'll go through. A mission and values section, and then a vision section. So if you all remember, throughout the fall, one of the first things we did is we sort of collaboratively developed language around the mission of the Early Childhood Agenda, the values that we want to continue using moving forward, and then the vision for early childhood in Massachusetts. So those 2 pages really articulate that piece. Then next to this is the agenda. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. The agenda itself. So there we have listed the agenda priorities, which I'll go through. Luckily, I had that one up, and action areas. So that really explains a little bit more of the historical context. So how financially secure families, healthy families, thriving early childhood workforce, robust system infrastructure and local partnerships, and high quality experiences tie in with those agenda priorities, where they sort of generated the different priorities and how we hope to use them moving forward. So one of those future early childhood agenda pieces that we're sort of envisioning is that we can revisit each of those different action areas as we continue to work on new priorities in future years. There's also a For Partners and a Join Us page. So the way we envision this working is that click on the Join Us page if you want to get involved with the coalitions, with the work groups, if you want to learn more and sign up for the mailing list. So that's really meant for sort of folks who are coming to the agenda to get involved for the first time, to sort of make that first initial action. For Partners is really meant to be for the different action items that are going to come up throughout the next few years. So whether it's a news article that's relevant to the early childhood agenda, or it's an event that's coming up that's hosted by us or a coalition partner, or a community event related to the work groups, or it is just an action item and an update. So whether it's an advocacy ask like we were just going over for the coalitions, or there's a new update on something exciting that's coming up for the work groups, that's where we're going to post all of that information. It's organized in a really clear and concise way so that you can sort of tag the pieces that you're most interested in. And we're super excited about that page. That's going to be sort of your main engagement action center for the early childhood agenda. All right, so the About Us page is the first one here that we have. We have a lovely quote from Kim Lucas from the fall that really talks about the importance of stating challenges before we move to solutions and how that allows us to be creative and innovative in early childhood. And so that's sort of the process and the structure that we're going to continue to use even with the work groups throughout the fall. Some language here in the About Us about what the early childhood agenda is and what we're trying to do. We're building a stronger early childhood system. We also wanted to include some information about the various coalitions. So to share that we partner with individuals like all of you, as well as we are partnering with Massachusetts-based coalitions whose work is aligned with the agenda priorities. And so together we're identifying emerging leaders where there are gaps, and that's where the work groups come in. And then finally, the agenda timeline. So this, similar to what you saw earlier, really just shares how the agenda came to be, when it officially began, when we were focusing on these 5 action areas, how we finalized the 10 priorities for the next 2 years in January of 2023. We created this new structure that relies on established coalitions and emerging work groups, and that we are going to be launching these 7 new work groups this summer. And then that we're gonna, be working on that for the next 1.5 years. And then by January of 2025, sort of looking back to look forward and learning the lessons that we can from how this has gone for the past 2 years and thinking through what this agenda should look like moving forward. And that is the About Us page. All right, so if I click on a new page, can you see it still, Amy? Like, can you see the agenda priorities now?
It's switching.
Okay, perfect. So
I
the
also
agenda,
I spotlighted Neri as well, and I almost said 9:30 callers. Agenda callers, can you please send Neri some love through the chat? She has been working overtime, and just want to thank you. Keep going, Maurice.
agreed. So this is the agenda's priority page, which we're really excited about. So it explains how the early childhood agenda began, that we were focusing on these 5 different action areas, and that allowed us to generate a list of 10 priorities. So we've linked to the sort of legacy PDF here, which we will be updating, but wanting to include that as a resource. But most importantly, there's an interactive part of the agenda down here. So you can see each of the 10 priorities are listed, and then there's a details button to the right of the priority. So as an example, I'm going to go ahead and click on number 3. So provide a guaranteed minimum income and establish an adequate safety net in Massachusetts was that priority action area, or that priority for the agenda. When you click on details, it provides some additional context. So there's the language that we included on that PDF. You can see the action area that developed this priority. So it came from financially secure families. And then you'll see 3A and 3B. So 3A is support tax credit fairness. You can see the Senate bill, which combines the ask for the earned income tax credit and the child and family tax credit. You can see the individual earned income tax credit in the Senate, the individual in the House, and then the individual child and family tax credit in the House and Senate. So all the bills are linked directly there so that you can read through them. The lead advocate there is the Healthy Families Tax Credit Coalition. When you click on that link, it brings you directly to their website so you can learn more about that coalition. And then there's a link to join. So if you're interested in getting involved, you can click on this and it redirects you right to their sign up form. So that is how you can get involved with that coalition. And then for 3B, establishing an adequate safety net. Same thing, the Senate bill and the House bill are listed there. The lead advocate is the Lift Our Kids Coalition, links to their website. And then if you're interested in getting involved, join this established coalition, links you directly to their site where you can sign up there. So this is one of the ways that we see partners using the site, is being able to get very specific information about each of the agenda items as there are developments related to bills. As you know, I think next session when there's a budget ask again, we're going to include that on this page. We weren't quite ready to go this year, but we'll be ready next year. So the budget ask will also be included here, and we'll be able to share some general updates around the agenda from this page. So another example is, I'll do number 2. this is going to be one of the work groups. So again, it shows some language here. This really came from the Thriving Early Childhood Workforce group. We're going to be facilitating that and hopefully partnering with the Center for the Study of Childcare Employment on this work group. And then there is a link there to join the emerging, it's going to say work group. So this was a previous version, but join the emerging work group. So that's where you'll be able to sign up for the work groups. It's one of the ways you'll be able to sign up for the work groups. I wish I had it open, but I did not. So the Join Us page is also going to have very detailed instructions on how to sign up for the work groups and how to join the coalition. So there's some more information on the Join Us page about both of those pieces, as well as just the general sign up form for the mailing list. And then finally, this is the Action Center. So the way this is organized is there's a small menu at the top where it'll have agenda updates, events, and in the news. So that's how you can toggle between the three and sort of look for the piece that you're actually interested in on this page. So if I'm looking for a news article, it'll pre-populate there at the top. If I'm looking for an event, it will pre-populate. And if I'm looking for an agenda update, it will pre-populate. So we're going to build out this section and you'll be able to find updates here, as well as we'll be sending out some more frequent communication over email so that you can see some of those updates over email and then on the website as well. So those are the two main ways that you'll be able to stay engaged and take action and help sort of move the agenda priorities forward over the next 2 years.
So Neri, you want to add anything? I know you put in the chat thanking the focus group, but anything else you'd want to say?
Excuse me, I wanted to say that this is truly a collaborative effort to building this website, taking the many hours of meeting time and brainstorming time and everything that we did in the fall and spring, and then putting it all together into this, consumable, user-friendly platform. But it was truly a collaborative effort. We had some volunteers to form the focus group. We invited some of you that are on the screen right now to review the website from its inception, just to give us feedback and give us some feedback on how to make it, more readable and accessible for folks and user-friendly. We had our blogger, Alyssa Haywood, was a part of editing some of the copy. We had Tanya Lazar, our website designer builder. We had some interns work on this. So some of the graphics were actually created by our interns and some of the research was from our interns. Our project managers, our staff, everyone has, has their fingerprint in this website. And so I'm really hoping that in the next, I'm not going to say how many days, but soon we will have a working site for you all to access. And along with that, we'll have some guides and we'll have some tutorial type of materials for you to be able to access it and use it. One thing that isn't a part of the navigation tools that you weren't able to see, but we are trying to create more resources, like a platform, a page for resources, so a communications toolkit, some how-to guides, things like that, to help folks as they are doing this work, just give support as needed. So stay tuned.
Thanks, Neri and Marissa. Oh, you're muted, Marissa.
Well, good, because I was saying perfect timing on Jeremy's part. I was about to ask to pull up the slides, so it was irrelevant anyway. All right, so for the next slide, we wanted to just give a quick refresher on Basecamp. And we really we're going to be using this tool a lot moving forward. I think this is going to be such an incredible resource for those who can't come to the meeting times directly for the work groups, but want to stay involved in the work. So you'll be able to find documents. The work groups will be able to sort of schedule to-dos for different members if we want to, do some research on a piece of something or develop a one-pager or reach out to a partner, whatever it ends up being. So there's going to be a lot of resources on Basecamp moving forward. And with that, there's a lot of work that we're sort of doing behind the scenes to clean up some of the settings, to make it a little bit more user-friendly, to avoid the spamming situation that I have caused inadvertently last week. So we're going to be doing some of that pieces, as well as making sure that all of you are trained and understand how to use Basecamp. So, sorry. In our follow-up email from this, we're going to share a link that Basecamp actually developed, which shows you, it walks you through how to use the platform. There's both an online version that you can log into as well as an app that you can download. So we'll share that just to make sure everyone has some general sort of Basecamp know-how. And then we'll build that into the work group sort of first few meetings to make sure that there's some resources there around Basecamp and that everyone feels up to speed and that it's accessible. And if it's not working, then we'll find another way to make sure that we're sharing information with folks. But that really will be a lovely way to be able to share sort of progress moving forward, provide feedback like we did throughout the fall on different group map activities or draft language, whatever it ends up being. So for those who haven't seen Basecamp yet, it really does sort of incorporate these six different tools and resources. There's a message board, there's a to-do section where you can assign different members of the project a to-do, a task, and then there's a documents and files section, there's a schedule. We haven't really used the group chat or the automatic check-ins, but those are also resources that are available. So more information to come on that, but I think the next page also has a little bit more of an in-depth, if you want to go to the next slide, Jeremy, I think there's a little bit more of an in-depth view on how it looks in the actual platform itself. So you'll see the early childhood agenda. We're organizing folders for all the different work groups. So you'll be able to access that information, and then you can kind of see here how it looks on the back end, where there's to-dos that are scheduled for different partners. There's message board, documents and files, and etc. And yes, it's the same Basecamp link from earlier. If you have never received one, we're going to do a lot of cleanup of that in the next week or two as we get these work groups ready to go. So I'll make sure that everyone is in the system and has a link. If you're not in the system yet and you want to just double check with me, feel free to email. I'll put my strategies email in the chat just so you can send it my way. I forgot the .org, but it's .org, strategiesforchildren.org. And I'll make sure that everyone has a link to Basecamp as well. All right, and then finally, next steps. So next steps, I think the first things are going to be either join an established coalition or sign up for a work group. So take a look at the agenda document and see, I think, which ones you're most interested in, where you think that your expertise would be the most helpful. Join one, join many, follow along on Basecamp if you can't actually attend the meetings or you don't envision that you'll have time. Any of those options are sort of helpful for us and for the agenda moving forward. So, participate when you want and how you want, whatever works best for you. That will all be included, instructions for that will be included in the follow-up email. The next one is help us connect with new partners. So who should we reach out to about joining a work group? I'm also going to include this in the follow-up email. So as you've been thinking about, the links between health and early childhood, or the workforce compensation group, or developmental monitoring screening, if you have met someone, if you've had a meeting with someone, you've come across an organization or an individual that you think has content expertise and lived expertise in that area, and we need to make sure that they're part of this working group, please reach out to us, because our connections are all we sort of have to rely on right now, and making sure that we have sort of the right voices in this room and that we're reaching out to a broader audience is only going to strengthen the agenda moving forward. So help us connect with new partners and get the recruitment for this work group started. And then, as Neri mentioned, as soon as the website's online, we'll share that with you all. Visit the site, sort of get familiar with it, stay involved and engaged there. You'll be able to see some of those first action items. You'll be able to see events that are coming up and to sign up for those work groups on the site as well as through the email as well. So, and then finally, I also saw a comment I think it was during the group map activity at the very beginning about sort of connecting early childhood and making these cross-sector links, better understanding what we mean by early childhood, all of those pieces. I just wanted to remind everyone that there is an incredible resource out there, which is called EC 101, Early Childhood 101. It was developed by the Early Childhood Funder Collaborative in Massachusetts, and does an amazing job articulating all of the different pieces, all of the different programs, services, and professionals that that children and families interact with in Massachusetts, and how it takes you through sort of the journey of a child's birth in Massachusetts and all of the different pieces that they might encounter along the way. So take a look at that resource if you have not already, and get familiar with all these different components that we hope to pull together within the early childhood agenda. And we'll pause there. We have about 10 minutes left that we've saved for questions. I'm amazed that we actually we stayed on time and we have 10 minutes still. So
Right.
I will turn it over to Amy and I'm going to scroll through the chat quickly and see if there are any other questions.
That's great. Thank you. And big
We're
thanks to Jeremy for running the slides, which is always tricky. So a true initiation to the team, SFC, for that. And I see also that Alex Chu has joined from Reach Out and Read. So Alex, I just wanted to give you a quick chance to say hello. Janet did a great job, but just if you want to say hello and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Chu. I'm the executive director from Reach Out and Read here in Massachusetts. I've already heard great things about Allison and Janet and what they've been able to share about Healthy Beginnings, but very excited to jump on Marissa's bandwagon and say if there are folks that have connections into the medical community that want to include, I know that was one of the smaller of the groups that were able to talk about some of the initial pillars that we wanted to build. So happy to continue to build that community when we get, for anybody that's on this call that has suggestions, would love to be able to tie folks in that are deeply connected to the medical community, so we make sure that we have those ties and strengthen those bonds. But thank you for the introduction, Amy. I appreciate it.
As you know, putting people, giving them a chance immediately. So thanks for being a good sport about that. I also just want to add, we'll remove all the spotlights so we can see everybody. But I want to add, we will continue to use the 9:30 call as a place to have deeper dives on coalitions, on the working groups, quick announcements. So while we'll continue to have these quarterly meetings, we'll have a meeting structure within the work groups and the coalition. We also will continue to use the 9:30 call. And so, as the booking agent for the 9:30 call, if you know folks or have folks that would be good resources on any of the issues that we're thinking about for the agenda, please let me know. We're booking through July right now. And so it's been a great opportunity to tie these two pieces together, to have the opportunity to just hear kind of a half an hour highlight reel for folks that are working in many of these issues. And I also just want to give a shout out to Excel Linguistics, who have been provided the interpretation today. We are going to add a speak slowly line to our in-house rule slide. We know how difficult it is, especially with this dense material that we are talking about at a very high speed. So I just want to thank the interpreters who we've been working with for, through the COVID. They have been an incredible resource, and we just want to thank them as well. Marissa, did you see anything in chat? I think Kelly Pellegrini did say something about kind of, will there be immediate ideas to implement? So the social media, the posts, this is happening today.
Yeah, great question. Yes. So as Mary mentioned, like a social media toolkit, communications toolkit is one of the first things we're developing for the website right now. Our intern's actually working on that. Esterlina, I think, is on the call right now. Is going to be helping with that project. And so that's one of the first pieces. The second thing that we also talked about is adapting some of like the how-to resources that we have historically used at Strategies for Children. So in Advocacy 101 adapted for the early childhood agenda, and some of those other components where it's more of like a how to engage with the press, how to, advocate in Massachusetts and understand that process. So some of those pieces are going to be on the website, as well as some of the more social media, like quick action toolkits. The biggest thing, though, I think, is like the coalitions are in this period of action with the state budget sort of wrapping up now. And I think that, the tweets and the posts and all of the attention that we can generate around those components would be the most helpful. So if you're interested in any of those different coalition priority areas, to please get involved with those and to help to promote and raise awareness for those different issues as we're wrapping up the budget season.
And I think that was one of our lessons that we learned with the launch of the agenda in January, kind of capping off 4 months of intense work through the fall. And then in January, our state budget process and our legislative sessions both started as well. And so, as you can see, part of the way that we're trying to think about organizing the work is, is there a legislative strategy? Are there bills that are pending? And the answer is yes. Are there budget strategies? Do folks have budget asks? And the answer is yes. So as we continue to kind of work through the work groups, all of those opportunities, which is where we're going to rely on those coalitions. So you heard Naomi talking about kind of what's happening right now with the work that they're doing for the Lift Our Kids. We know there's also the state conference committee is still meeting. So while the fiscal year technically starts on July 1st, we know that we are not going to most likely have a state budget. And so what happens now is they will pass what's called a 1/12 budget. So they'll pass a budget for July. We're hearing that they may pass a budget for August. And that basically means to kind of keep the government running, they'll spend at the current levels that they're spending now. And so while we also know that in the state budget, there are historic levels of funding that are being negotiated right now for young children and families. So we'll put the link in the chat if you can contact the conference committee members. We know that they are working, but we know that we just want to make sure that they're thinking about the issues that we care about. And this is an area, I think, where we as Strategies for Children are thinking about what does it look like to advocate for this full agenda. And we've learned a lot of lessons this year, which we hope to incorporate for next budget cycle, as well as for legislation. Anything else happening in the chat?
I'm not seeing anything else in the chat, but I would just like to invite, if anyone, if there are any questions or if anything comes up later, feel free to add them to the group map or email us. We know that it can be kind of hard to provide feedback immediately during a meeting. So all of your feedback so far has been so helpful as we've been developing this, and we value it so much. So please keep it coming, and we'll keep kind of incorporating it and iterating on the agenda as it develops moving forward.
And just a quick word on that, we have taken feedback very seriously. If you look at the way the agenda was, website was developed, some of the tools that we're thinking about organizing, that has all come from folks saying like, it'd be helpful if we knew about that, or can you highlight, something like this. Barbara Gutman just put in chat, are we going to meet in person? I've always wanted to have a dance party in Worcester as part of the 9:30 call on the early childhood agenda. I think we have been thinking about where are those opportunities? Is there an opportunity maybe in the fall that we have a big, convening in person somewhere that's easy, in the middle of the state. This is a statewide, operation. So we want to make sure that we're honoring that. And I think what has been wonderful is to have this virtually, to think about who can participate and to have the recordings. So I think certainly we can think about an in-person convening and many of these different opportunities around, like lobby days or rallies at the State House or even in local communities. So Eve Gilmar would be on my dance committee planning committee. Excellent. And then I think I think we're learning, right? Kim Lucas was a huge inspiration in her work in civic engagement as we started the agenda, really thinking about what the structure could look like. But as we think about this, we are co-constructing this with each of you. And so as we're moving along, especially over the past few months, we have been so focused inwardly that when you think about what the information coming out looks like, feels like, that's where we're really interested in getting your feedback. Are things clear? Should we tighten some things up? How can we reflect all of these pieces that we've been working on? So I just want to thank each of you personally for joining us today. Titus put in the link, and maybe we can put the link in again because the website is not quite working. We'll tweet out today the Zoom link to register for the 6 p.m. meeting. We will create a follow-up email that has all of these resources, including the slides that we used today. But as we close out, please join me in thanking our incredible team at Strategies for Children, especially Marissa for the work that she has put into organizing today's meeting. And for those of you hoping to see Mo Barboza when you logged in today, we are continuing to think about what that looks like to continue to have Mo involved with his incredible facilitation for the early childhood agenda. We're so grateful for him and all the work that he did over the fall and in January. We also have a dedicated playlist on YouTube to everything early childhood agenda. So all the meetings that were recorded, the launch event that happened at the State House in January. So please feel free to check out our playlist on YouTube. And most importantly, please help spread the word. This is meant to be an inclusive process. We need folks We know everybody can't meet at 10 o'clock in the morning. We want to think of ways to, innovatively and creatively have folks' voices involved in this. If you have any questions about what you heard, please follow up with one of us. And until then, join us on the 9:30 call. One more plug, we will be recruiting our third cohort for our advocacy network. So if you know folks who are working with children and families every day in early childhood, please let us know. We'll be working on recruiting members for that network. We can put that link in chat and we'll include it in the follow-up emails. Marissa, any final words?
No, just thank you all so much. We're excited to get started.
All right, well, make your summer playlists, enjoy. Maybe the sun will come out at some point during this summer in Massachusetts. And thank you each of you for all that you do for children and families. We will see you soon.